Hello and welcome to Wedflics. I'm Julia Braime, I'm your host and the editor and founder of Brides Up North, the top UK wedding blog for northern couples, and I'm the editor of the go-to bridal glossy, Unveiled magazine. Today on the show we welcome a bundle of energy in the form of Wellbeing Farm owner and founder Celia Gaze. Celia puts so much passion and love into everything she does, and that's so evident in the results she gets for couples using her space as a venue for their big day. Let's meet the inimitable Celia. Okay, so hi Celia, welcome to the show. It's lovely to have you on Wedflics.
Oh, thank you so much, Julia. Very excited to be here today.
No problem at all. It's a pleasure. So everybody, this is the lovely Celia Gaze, and she is the owner. And are you the CEO? What's your job title?
A little bit of everything, but managing director probably the easiest one.
Okay. I didn't know if you were going to have like a crazy title. I wouldn't have put it past you.
Oh, I have got head llama maid for the head stable maid for the llamas as well.
There you go, head llama mom.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, her business is the Wellbeing Farm, which is an insanely cool wedding venue over Northwest Way, which Celia and I are going to get into and talk all about the amazing venue, Celia's ethos, and everything that's on offer to our brides and grooms if they're looking for a venue that's a little bit out of the ordinary and super welcoming. So Celia, let's dive right in. What led you to set up the Wellbeing Farm? Where did it all start?
Oh gosh, well, it started off when I actually was in the NHS. I was a director, quite senior role actually in the NHS, and I'd had a baby, and what happened is I was called back while on maternity leave to do this big turnaround project to save 42 million from the NHS, like you just do. And I went back, probably in hindsight far too early from maternity leave, ended up very stressed with burnout, couldn't turn around 42 million just like that. I was getting more and more worked up about it. I ended up resigning from the NHS, and I was like, what on earth am I going to do? At the time, wellbeing was massive, but I wanted to know what on earth had caused this stress. What on earth were the conditions? How on earth did I lead to get to burnout? What was I doing that I ended up with this burnout situation? So I became obsessed with stress. I couldn't just go off and be stressed. I had to go off and be stressed, but do qualifications in stress, qualifications in stress management, qualifications in organizational stress. And finally, I got to the bottom of what was going on. And I decided that I wanted to do something totally different with my life. My partner had a rundown farm, but it was really neglected. I mean, one of the worst farms you could probably see. It had walls, and that was about it. And I said to him, but it did have this amazing view, and I said, is there any chance I just in a whim, I was on a gift wrapping course, as you do, and
handy at this time of year.
I've always loved going on different courses. If there's a course, I'll be on it, kind of thing. And I'm on the gift wrapping course. I overhear some ladies talking about how they were planning for the night, what food they were going to serve on the courses. They ran various courses from their house, from their home. And I thought, what a lovely thing to be doing, running these courses and running these things from your home. So I immediately thought, Stephen has a farm. Stephen's my partner. Why couldn't I do something with his farm? So while driving back, I called Stephen going, I've got this amazing idea for your farm. Get back, start throwing myself into this big project to transform the farm, and ended up, well, I was from the NHS. I never dealt with builders and farming and all of this sort of thing. I had this like massive mountain to climb on learning, and I ended up sort of having to liaise with architects, builders, install water treatment plants, install wind turbines, find a way of heating the venue. And I turned it out, and the whole ethos of the farm was around well-being and reducing stress. And over kind of it was a nightmare trying to get planning permission, a nightmare trying to get through all these things, so much so that I ended up writing a book around all the problems that I faced, that if anybody else had the crazy idea like I did, please don't do and make all the mistakes I made. You know, kind of, you can do it a lot simpler. But I finally get to open And it was never intended to be a wedding venue at the
Yes,
beginning.
that was what I was going to ask. I didn't think it was.
And then it was opened as a place that if you were stressed, either as a company or an individual, you could go to this place and everything about the farm was set up to manage stress. So in the NHS at the time, they had this thing called 5 Ways to Wellbeing, which was all around be connected, so with the right environment, have exercise, and that's where the llamas come in, which I'll talk about in a minute. There was having a nice diet and create the food. So it was this sort of almost like a sanctuary, like a magical place that you could just go and you could sit and have a coffee and you could just chill in the cafe. You could go up and have a course. You could go and have a nice walk around the farm. And it was all set to this whole, by visiting the farm, you would enhance your well-being. That was the idea that I had. But obviously these ideas on paper are nothing like the reality. And when I came to doing this farm, I'd never overseen builders before. And when I was going around going, can you just do this? That can you just do this led to a price, which I hadn't kind of factored in. I just thought it quoted me on a price for building this farm, and it was all included in a figure. So when at the end, they gave me the invoice and then went, here's your extras. And I went, extras? What are you talking about? And it was like £42,000 worth of extras, which he'd never given me a kind of, you know, yes, you can put that wall tile on, but you've already spent this amount, and actually those wall tiles after that. So actually, do you really need those wall tiles? Do you know? And there was never anything like that. And I didn't know to ask, I'll be honest with you. So I ended up in a real mess. So in a kind of massive, I had to survive, and the survival was I had to pay the builders, and all that money that was there at the start of the business for marketing, for setting up, to run the event, was all given away to the builders. So I almost had to start off from nothing. And in this sheer will to survive, I opened up where people started going, why don't you just do this? Why don't you just do this? So somebody goes, why don't you just be a cafe? So I was like, oh yeah, okay, I'll turn it into a cafe. Why don't you just, you've got all these animals, why don't you do school visits? Okay, I'll do school visits. Why don't you just do party? And it ended up with this 14 things from the farm. It was absolutely crazy. I was trying from this one farm to do school visits, cookery school, butchery courses, cafe, children's parties, normal parties, experience events. We were doing markets. We would absolutely everything. And I was just all over the place. Totally. We have afternoon teas, honestly, total mess. And a mentor came along and he said, you've got to stop everything. And at that time, this was December 15, I was in a real state. So much so that I was almost on the verge of bankruptcy, in a real mess. And I was given a mentor from the local authority for free, who came along and says, you've got to stop everything. And I was like, I can't stop everything. I said, I've got to have some money. I'm going to keep going. And he said, but you're all over the place. You're unfocused. You don't know what you're doing. He said, you've got to figure out what on earth you do from this farm. Now, during the summer, we'd held one wedding. And that couple had come along and said, we'd like to get married at the farm. And I said, well, I haven't got anywhere you can get married. There isn't anywhere. And then I said, actually, I do have an old riding arena. And would that be suitable for your wedding? And they were like, yeah, well, they were a very laid back couple. So I just literally overnight almost turned this riding arena into this, all we did was clad it with wood around it. And I remember at first we just put these, we put a marquee in the arena, the very first time. Yeah. Because underneath, if you looked at the arena, it was an agricultural shed. So it was just nothing there. It was a sand floor. It originally held cattle, and then it had been turned into a riding arena, like an indoor arena. All along the side were stables, and it was a real sort of, it was a big space, but really like very, very agriculturally looking. And they had wanted to get married, so I said, okay, we make it happen. And this wedding went really well, and I was going, actually the weddings are something which I could do, and I could add to the list of already 40 things I was doing from that farm. I could just tag weddings in as well, kind of thing. And so this mentor came along and he said, well, how much do you make from weddings and how much are you making from everything else? And he was going, well, hang on, if weddings you can make 4 times the amount from a wedding that you were doing anything else, why on earth do you not do weddings? And I was like, well, I'm not set up for weddings, and don't really know what I'm doing with weddings. And he said, you've got to get into weddings. And I was like, how on earth do you then go from nothing to start as a wedding venue?
So how did you then, Celia? I mean, for someone who was burnt out from stress, this whole story sounds very stressful to me. But knowing you really do put 100% into everything you do. So any couples watching this will be thinking, oh my goodness, this lady's crazy. But what Celia does is she puts her heart and soul into things. So you know that when you book your wedding with the Wellbeing Farm, she will be incredible. And her team are incredible. I know she's got a really, really good team who kind of pick it up and run with it under her guidance.
Well, this was it, because it started off, and then I had these llamas. The only reason I got llamas originally is I had all these stables. I'd done some research onto what animal could go in a stable, could survive the winters, didn't need a lot of work, and was somehow linked to stress and well-being. And I did loads of research, came across llamas. This is nearly 10 years ago. 10 years ago, people hadn't heard of llamas. The only way you saw a llama was in a zoo or a farm. They were not as common like they are now.
They weren't as trendy.
Yeah, I mean, Fortnite, llamas, Imperial Leather, Smarties, they've all got llamas. It's amazing. And so basically, I had to go to Northampton, find these llamas, ended up with the llamas, and then we were doing llama trekking on top of one of the 14 things. But where the llamas come in is December 15, nearly bankrupt. Go home to my mum, as you do when you're feeling down and thinking desperate. And she was clearing out her wardrobes, and she came across this bag of bow ties where my dad had been a concert pianist. And basically, she said, of all the things he's left, what am I supposed to do with this bag of bow ties? And I literally just went, give them to me and I'll stick them on a llama. That was the I get back home after Christmas, I give it to Jimmy and say, Jimmy, just put this bow tie on a llama, see if you can somehow get it on. He comes back to me, says, I've managed to get the bow tie on. I go around with my phone, I take a photo, I stick it on Facebook, and it just went absolutely crazy. It was in the middle of engagement season. Everybody wanted to know about the bow tie wearing llamas. I, at that point, had no idea that January was the season for engagements. No, honestly, no idea. And so we started, and the inquiries started coming in, and people wanted to book, and I was like going to people, well, I've got this, but I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this with the thing, and it's going to look like this. And they booked on a trust that I was going to do the things that I said I would. And we set aside a big plan of transforming this farm. We cladded it, we found a heating system, and then over the years we've established it. We literally went at that point from 2 weddings to 15 to 48 to 63 to 78, and now to well over 100. And it just grew and grew on the back of the bow tie wearing llamas, which formed a brand, which were known. We stood out from other venues. We were the venue with the bow tie wearing llamas. We weren't just a wedding venue.
Because you do, but this is the thing, that one image and that kind of concept, you were kind of lucky because you were like on trend with it.
Yeah, I know,
which is interesting.
And
it's interesting. That's happened for me a few times with my business, and you kind of think, oh, that was fortuitous, wasn't it? But what you've done is you took an image that captured almost the idea or the soul of your brand, because the weddings wasn't there yet, but you have then built, you've filled in the gaps, and you've now got the venue to match the original image.
Yeah. So I then, instead of just kind of going, oh, I'll become a wedding venue, I literally traveled 196 venues all around the country to get ideas. I was like, where can I visit the perfect wedding venues? Where can I get the best of all these venues and put them in this one place? I became obsessed with studying not the wedding trends in Britain, but the wedding trends in Australia and America, where they have these like amazing weddings. And I was going to go, I didn't want to be the normal type of venue. I wanted to embrace the well-being concept around weddings, because weddings is the most stressful thing that you will ever organize. And a lot of people get engaged and they suddenly have to organize this big, effectively event stroke party stroke the most special day of their lives, and they have just thrust upon them as though if everybody is almost trained at this at school, and you're not, and it's a big thing. And so I said, right, we're going to become this venue, but we're going to use the well-being as, so instead of the well-being all about kind of stress and de-stressing and management and everything, we're going to turn the well-being into how we can create a de-stressed, a stress-free experience in booking and running and designing your wedding. So we set about everything that we could think about to help the couples plan their wedding and then run the wedding day. So from the concept of, we thought, well, actually, to decorate a large barn, which is effectively an empty blank canvas, can take a lot of money and a lot of cost. So why don't we buy everything in and have this concept of a prop shed? And so every time that people want to decorate, they go to the prop shed and they can personalize the venue as much as they want. But the basic props are all in there. So all the vessels for your flowers, the labels, the photo booth, the ladders, jars tied with string, all loads. I kind of kept, every time somebody had a wedding elsewhere or anywhere, I was buying all this stuff and creating our own almost on-site prop store. And then I didn't want the food to be just bog standard sort of chicken in Parma ham with a bit of sauce type service, a cheesecake and a pate. I just didn't want that kind of food. I love the concept of big amounts of food spread down the middle of the table to look like a massive feast. We have our own butchers, which is going for 130 years. The food had to be a central part of our offer because we had a cookery school at that time, so we were known as a bit of like a foodie destination. So the food was central. So I set about these massive platters of food where you'd have 3 different types of meat. And yes, we still do vegan and everything else, but the food had to look as colourful to be photographed and taste as good as it looked, and vice versa. So we set about doing the catering and everything ourselves. And even from the wine, I can't just put wine on the table. The wine has to have a quirky animal theme label.
I love that.
It's a nightmare for wine producers, because not only do they have to produce a good wine, but it has to be a good label and farm themed. So it's kind of quite a challenge to them. And I also wanted to embrace the sustainability. So the farm was powered by a wind turbine. Everything to build the farm was sort of eco materials. I have never bought anything new. Everything has been purchased from reclamation yards, other kind of venues, searching for hours and hours on eBay, Facebook Marketplace, charity shops everywhere to look for things. I have literally traveled miles, I made hundreds and hundreds of miles to get all the stuff that I did to decorate
the end result. Just some of the things you're mentioning there, there's so much there's so much packed into this venue it's just incredible. Guys, whoever's watching us, you have to go, or listening, you have to go along and see this venue for yourselves. It is amazing. And what Celia describes, she's not elaborating here. It really is kind of made from the heart. There's so much, it's very eclectic, the venue, isn't it? There's lots of different elements, but they all come together to make it a really special place. That prop shed you were just talking about is one of the most fun things brides and grooms can get their hands on, because literally you've just at your disposal got so many cool things to accessorize your wedding day with, not to mention like the llamas and the donkeys. Don't forget the donkeys. And the donkeys which are very cute. The donkeys wear top hats, right? Or caps?
Flat caps. They wear flat caps. And we have alpacas as well, and the llamas, and they all wear bow ties. So all of the animals, it was too much to get a bow tie for a donkey. The necks are too big. So we put the flat caps on them, which we had made from America and shipped over to have that. But I mean, again, see, in the prop shed, it's not just, it's games as well. We have a field at the front. We have loads of games. We have crazy golf. We have honestly about 14 different types of games. Having a trailer for a gin bars and horse trailer bars were really kind of popular, so I put one on there. I put an on-site photo booth on there. I put a fire pit. I had a teepee put on there. So every single wedding trend, I was like, right, I'm going to put it on the farm, kind of to try and just keep up with these trends of weddings. And so underpinning the whole ethos of the farm is a combination of well-being, fun, and sustainability. And all of those are wrapped up, and it's just so lucky that those 3 trends, and llamas of course, have kind of just grown through the journey of the farm, and they're still bang on trend. And every year I'm kind of hold my breath going, oh, rustic running still in. But it isn't, because over the time we've turned the barn from what was originally a very, very rustic wedding into we transformed all the floor to create a beautiful kind of polished wooden floor, and we now have a really plush bar. Everything's kind of all really beautiful. So I don't think of ourselves as a kind of rundown kind of rustic farm.
It's developed over time. It's not that it's not that horse arena anymore. You've built on it, and you've changed it, and you've developed it. Celia, this trend for rustic or boho or festival style, it isn't going anywhere. So I started our festival wedding shows back in 2015, I think it was. And I thought, right, I've got a couple of years of this before things move on. We thought vintage was sticking around, it didn't. Vintage disappeared very, very quickly, actually. Once its death knell was sounded, it was gone. But that hasn't happened for like your rustic barn type weddings, because it's a bigger theme than vintage was. It's an all-encompassing theme that takes in like countryside garden weddings, the sort of the boho trend, the outdoorsy feel. It's bigger than it's the sum of lots of little different parts. And I think that your venue is so kind of evolutionary that it can evolve and change and adapt to however the couples want it to be. I mean, what is your kind of like typical? Do you have like a typical type of couple who love the Wellbeing Farm?
If they're creative and they want a blank canvas, very much booking. Even if they're professional, we get a lot of professionals who want a wedding that's totally different. They want something that's really creative, but they don't want the hassle. More importantly, they're busy in their day-to-day jobs, and they don't want the hassle of doing everything. And because we offer an almost like a done for you package, we do far more for the couples than a normal venue organizer would do for the couples. We verge on wedding planning.
So what's included then in that package? Like what do they get when they book you?
So basically we do 3 planning meetings with them, where a lot of venues would just do 1 or 2. We do 3. So we have one at 6 months where they go through all the prop shed and organize the decor and see if they want to use any of it. We go at 3 months with the menus and the food, and we always go 2 weeks before, and we say to the couples, for the last 2 weeks, enjoy your relationship. Every single thing is done. You should not be doing anything in the last 2 weeks of your wedding, except maybe do your hair, your beauty treatments, and your nails.
That is nice. That is nice, because it can get. I mean, I am someone who loves weddings. I loved being a bride. I built a whole business on the back of being a bride, and I just love everything about it. I'm a very organised person. I love to run events. I love to do it all. I don't particularly DIY, but I can put things together. But the 2 weeks before my wedding, definitely, like for someone who loves this process and literally reveled in it, it was my everything ever. I did have like a moment where I thought I was going to have to breathe into a paper bag for a while. And it was about bridesmaid gifts for some reason on my lunch break from my job as a lawyer at the time. I literally had to kind of put my head between my knees in a jewellery shop. It's so ridiculous. No, it's complete. And I see people get stressed. The most level-headed of people will have a wobble.
Yeah, exactly. But I think we've got, like, for example, when you do book, you as well as the usual sort of pack that you get access to this secret planning website. Now, on the secret planning website are loads of videos, ideas that other people have used, proposed table layouts, answers to 200, and I think we've now gone up to 78 questions that they may have, all categorized. There's every single prop photographed, and the dimensions and where you could put the prop. And we must have about 300 props. We're not talking about a couple. We've got a substantial prop selection that people can use. And then we have all the menus that you normally expect, the menus and things. We invite them for tasters, but also more important, we have wedding open days every single month, and these wedding open days change by theme every month, and the couples can come up whether you're booked or whether you've not booked and see the venue looking in different themes, using predominantly the props from the prop shed, but obviously we also have other decorators and things in there, but it is predominantly, a lot of people do that themselves. And it's amazing that out of the same room with the same props, the weddings never ever look the same. It's incredible how you would think there would be some sort of degree of similarity, but they're not. They're so totally different. And you get some couples who have everything in, they have a big budget on flowers, they have everything bought in for them, they have the decor, everything, and it is just beautiful. But equally, you have the couples who get the flowers from the supermarket, use the utensils that we have, just use our props, and their wedding just looks just as beautiful. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's a good option for people. And I feel that the vibe that we really go for is a relaxed wedding. It's if you want a party, if you want fun, you're not going to arrive in your, if you arrived at the farm in designer handbag and heels, it's not going to be for you. But if you arrive in quite a
oh dear, it's not going to be for me then. Just joking. What about some designer wellies? What about some
designer well, absolutely. But we have a lot of brides in kind of wearing the Converse, all sorts of footwear, a lot of us married in sort of Doc Martens, that whole sort of vibe of, but then again, you get brides who are totally elegant and beautiful. It's a real eclectic mix. It really is. And I love that. I love it that we don't have a kind of typical couple, if you like.
That's what I love about our brands as well, that we've never gone down a trend reach for our blogs or magazines. We've always embraced it all, particularly with Brides Up North. We've really been all embracing, and the styles we embrace. And do you know what? It keeps it interesting, doesn't it, Celia? And it keeps it about the couple's story and about their personality, and that's all about what the Wellbeing Farm is about, isn't it? I feel like our brands sit well together because of that. We kind of get what each other's about, mainly because we're crazy, but
but I think also in the planning side, in that first 6-month meeting, we spend a lot of time getting really to understand what the couple's wanting out of their wedding, because sometimes it's more than just a day. We massively go into kind of what sort of games you wanting, what sort of experiences are you wanting, down to what would your mum want, are there any special touches that you feel that you need to incorporate in this. And we've had crazy things, like we've had people who did a first dance as a karate fight, we've had people bring the horse down, we've had so many dogs and animals, I've lost track, we've even had a snake down the aisle. We've had so many different things, but that's what I love, because, and even from the start, I mean, my team won the UK Wedding Events Team of the Year.
Yes, they did.
And we've gone on to win a lot of awards because the team love working at the farm, because it genuinely is like a night out. It's like on a Saturday when we have a lot of bands, a lot of live music because of the style of the venue. And it's just as good as a Saturday night out for them. They absolutely love working, from the food to the big feast down the table. At night, we have the wood burning oven going. They're sitting outside around the teepee, all in blankets. They're all playing games. We're trying to serve canapes in the middle of a golf course. Things like this. It's just so much fun. And when you have the llamas and the animals all come out, so you have donkeys, alpacas and llamas all come out, they mingle with the guests. They don't just stand over there in a field. They literally come out. People will do selfies with them. The bride and groom will sit on an old tractor. People will be having a gin out the horse trailer. Some people will be in a fire bowl having a chat and a catch up in the teepee. Some people will be in the photo booth, in a llama themed photo booth. There'll be a couple having, and then we've also got that elegant side with a bridal house which has a beautiful outdoor gardens, a lake, woodland, and so the couple can go off and have the more romantic, beautiful, elegant shots, as well as the full-on partying, relaxed shots at the farm. So I think it is a real, we do try and cater for everyone. If there is a gap, I will do 110% try and fill it. I will always look at the trends and go, what's next? I am constantly looking on Facebook Marketplace. I'm addicted to it, going, what else can I buy? I've done so much while I've been in lockdown to the farm. We've even created another car park, all sorts of stuff, but and bought so many more kind of props and decked out the whole.
My goodness, that gift wrapping course has a lot to answer for, doesn't it?
I think, Julia, I absolutely love it, and I know you said back to kind of, is this not more stressful than what I was doing? It is. It is like any business, but it's the passion, it's the absolute love for what you do. It's the can't wait to get to work. And I'm there I used to live on the farm and amongst all the weddings I don't do now, but that my house has now been turned into a bridal house for the couple. But like when I used to live on the farm, where the reason, and I do put it down to the reason we won this award, is like, to start off, I would personally go and map out every single thing they did. I created this kind of blow by blow account of how a perfect wedding should be run. Everything is documented, everything is written down. And so we know that every kind of wedding is done to a standard. We capture everything. The actual wedding process is probably about 8 pages of A4 long with all the steps, because there are so many factors that we need to factor in, because it's not just about the ceremony. We do all the food, we do all the bars, we do all the experiences, we provide all the games, we sort the animals out, we coordinate everything. So do you know what I mean? There's all sorts of things. And so it's just a constant love and a constant, it's a non-stop change of improvements. We literally don't stop. But I think that's what the team like. They love the fact that they come in and every single week there is something new going on or something different.
I love it. It's that creative, fun spirit, isn't it, that comes out in your couples.
I've never had, we honestly, I can genuinely we must have done now about 300 weddings at least, if not more, and we have never ever had a couple who've just gone awkward. Like you do hear about the bride, like the term bridezilla and all of it. We've never ever had that. Never.
Yeah, that's amazing. And so many weddings. So it must be because you attract the right sort of couples for your venue, because it's it is a special venue, but it is a unique venue and it is an eclectic venue. So I think the sort of fun-loving, artistic, creative types, bit of free-spirited, they're going to love the Wellbeing Farm. So what do you like the most about running the Wellbeing Farm? What's your favorite thing?
Oh, it's got to be the variety of what you see and what you deal with every day. And it is the amazement that the couples arrive and you go with them on their journey of this. They've got this kind of idea and they walk in and we want to do it like that. And it's the working with them over the number of months. You just get to know them so well. They become such good friends almost. And then you're so almost like, I've been in tears so many times when you finally meet that bride and she's going down the aisle, and the magic of them coming in sometimes 2 years earlier with an idea, and you see the final product. And I think that's the amazing thing with a venue, because you literally do see everything. Whereas some of the suppliers would only see one little element of a wedding. The venue sees everything from the moment they arrive with an idea to the actual full-on delivery of that idea and that making that magic happen to them. And I feel so privileged to be able to have that space that makes that magic happen for the couples. And that's absolutely what I love.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So listen, wedding couples, if you're watching, if you're listening, I think the next thing you have to do is check out the Wellbeing Farm for yourself. So you can head over to their website. Celia, what's the website? And I'll drop it here.
www.thewellbeingfarm.co.uk.
Or you can look on their Instagram, which is
the Wellbeing Farm, or the Facebook group is Wellbeing Farm.
Very easy. So
Yes.
head over there. You can also check out our directory where we've just put some cool new video content for you guys as well. So there's lots of places you can check out the Wellbeing Farm, and then obviously book to go along either to an open day or for a private viewing, and to check out for yourselves, because actually, as much as you can see on the website, you have to go in real life.
That's what everybody says. That they said the photos just don't do it. And although I've got really good photos and I've got a Google virtual tour thing, everybody says that it's so much better in when they arrive.
It is. I mean, it looks good in the pictures, but it's better in real life.
I think people don't realise how big the space is. I think the space doesn't look as big on the pictures, but when you actually arrive and see that, I think that's a lot of people go, wow. And we call it weddings with the wow factor, because you arrive and you think you're going into this kind of like agricultural room, and you walk in and everybody goes wow, because they just you open these steel doors and you're not quite sure. I got those steel doors from a mill and it's like you're not quite sure what's behind them. You push open the steel doors, they're quite heavy, push them open, and everybody's first reaction is wow. And you can guarantee that's why we said, because everybody says wow when they walk in.
That's interesting, isn't it?
It is.
That's
lovely.
So funny. Do you know what? So I have shot an editorial for our magazine, for Unveiled magazine at Celia's farm, and I'm a seasoned stylist. I've done hundreds of shoots now. I wonder if I've got to hundreds. And your venue was one of a very, very small few where I got there and I thought, oh, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can do it justice in the images. I don't know if I can capture it. And I think we did on the day.
Yeah.
But it was slightly stressful because there is so much going on that you think, oh, how am I going to get the essence of this place in just, a spread of, in a magazine, you are even more limited than you are online. You literally have like 8 to 10 pictures without it being too much. And I did have that feeling, but it's a magical feeling. And it wasn't, it was worry that I couldn't get the essence of the place across. And because it's just it has such a big soul. I think that was the point.
No, and one thing is, I will say that everybody arrives at the farm, they always say, like, there's something here. And this summer, I was working with some wellbeing providers. I've gone very much back into the wellbeing in another part of the venue that I'm doing. And these ladies arrived and they went, I've got to go. She said, there's something about this place. I'm going to have to go and investigate. And it turns out that the reason that they feel the farm has such good energy is because it's on 2 ley lines that cross. You have these ley lines in the earth and they're all like vibes and energy. And apparently cross by the Wellbeing Farm, which is why it has such this good spiritual kind of
good vibrations,
which is amazing. And I never knew that. That's why.
It's why all the llamas are half human and wear bow ties.
Everyone leaves happy. That's what we want.
There's something in the water. There's something in the water. It might be champagne, but
that's it. You never know.
So Celia, it's been amazing chatting to you. We're going to leave everybody to go and check out the venue for themselves. Thank you so much for being my guest.
Oh, it was lovely, and thank you for having me on. Really appreciate it. Thank you.